This is the abnormal place. I don't very often talk about games I don't like or that feel unfinished, because I think dunking on what a game can do rather than what it does achieve is a cheap way to get clicks. I have tried this formula once and I got the negative attention the video was meant to achieve. But it just didn't sit well with me, considering my arguments were absolute trash. And thus, I ended up taking the video down, trying to head down the path of looking at the things that do work moving forward. Today, about 2 years after I last dunked on a video game, I find myself writing a video about one of the least enjoyable games I've played in a while, that has a lot of potential to be something really, really good. The abnormal place revolves around this girl called Abigail, who has randomly awoken in a strange world that's made for monsters. To make things worse, she has also lost her voice, so she can barely talk to anyone. And that's all you can really gather from the intro, since you're just kind of thrown into the adventure without any real explanation or introductory cutscene, which is a missed opportunity to introduce the player to the story, if you ask me. Either way, in order to find her way back home, Abigail now has to conquer the different areas of this world, find voice fragments scattered around the map to restore her voice, and make her way to the top of a hotel for some inexplicable reason to somehow escape this world. And, yeah. You don't really get to do a whole lot in this game. Which doesn't have to be an issue at all. I will forever praise the wonderful walking simulators in Journey and Genesis Noir that are able to tell a story with nothing but beautiful visuals and masterfully composed OSTs. But the abnormal place is no such game. You do walk for the biggest chunk of the game, with some occasional platforming in between, but the game doesn't really have a story to tell other than, "Ooh, this hotel is weird and spooky, and nobody knows what happens in this hotel." You just walk some more, and get lost in a maze. The game is divided into these different sections. These sections are separated from each other by blockages like locked doors that you'll be able to open upon fulfilling whatever task the game wants you to complete in that particular section. But words. You just claimed all you do is walk in this game approximately 30 seconds ago. The fuck you mean there are tasks to complete? Even though there are tasks to complete, the gameplay doesn't change. All you do is walk. Upon entering a new area, you're supposed to find that area's monster, all of which have amazing designs, by the way. The area's monster is the key to advancing to the next area, since they will always hand you the key to open a locked door or just straight up open it themselves. But yeah, in order for them to help you need to help them first. That's just how the world works, you know. They will ask you to find eggs, find and remove weed, find random lost items like a yarn and a mirror, find every single task in this 3 to 4 hour game is a fetch quest. This is the one thing that made this experience rather unenjoyable. You just enter an area, talk to a monster, retrieve whatever they lost, and repeat for the next area until you beat the game. It's something that becomes incredibly repetitive, incredibly fast. Now, Like I just mentioned, this walking around and essentially doing nothing isn't anything new to me in video games, nor is it something I dislike by definition. I've made videos on games like Journey and Genesis Noir, which are textbook walking simulators, if I've ever seen them. Now, the three of you that actually watched the videos I made on those games may recall me speaking very highly of said games. I absolutely love playing those walking simulators because the lack of stuff to do was compensated by a beautiful storyline told by the environment you walk through and the beautiful music in every single section of the game. The Abnormal Place, however, isn't one of those walking simulators. And that's the issue. The game wouldn't be such a chore to play through if it had a strong overlapping storyline guiding you. With there being no real storyline in place and the tasks going no further than fetching item A before fetching item B, all there's left is emptiness. This emptiness is far from the only issue the game in its current state has. Not only is there no overlapping storyline to compensate for the repetitive fetch quest gameplay, but where the music plays a crucial part in other walking simulators, the music in the Abnormal Place leaves a lot to be desired as well. The music in the different areas is actually pretty good. They really did a good job with the more upbeat tracks, but also the slower, eerie kind of tracks. However, in every single area, the music will loop once and then there's just nothing but complete silence. You end up walking around for a few minutes before the music will start its new loop and repeat, which just feels really awkward to me. And then there's also smaller stuff like the talking prompt not responding to any inputs, the walking animation being super stiff and not visually changing whether you're walking or quote unquote running, and of course, the severe lack of any border protection. No matter if you're holding the running button or not, it always looks like you're ice skating over the different types of surfaces without really touching the ground. And if your ice skates get stuck at any given point, you can just use the hills or walls to cheese lock doors and such. It's a feature that actually came in pretty handy as I was getting extremely pissed off by this maze at some point, so jumping on the walls to figure out where to go was some sort of a luxury really. Now, I have to give it to this game. It does have a unique flavor to it. Because it was the first time a video game ever made me experience motion sickness every single time I played it. I don't know whether it's the art style, the motion blur, FOV or whatever else, but god, this game got me nauseous every single time I played it for more than 40 minutes. I've played anything ranging from first-person shooters like CSGO and Call of Duty to third-person adventures like Mario Odyssey or Zelda, but never have I ever experienced sickness from a fucking video game until I played this one. I addressed the issue on the game's discussion page on Steam, and one of the game's developers, Glenn, responded to my issue rather quickly. He told me to play around with certain settings and that he'd have a look to see if there's anything he can do or add, but not only did adjusting the settings do jack shit, I also have never heard back from the dude ever since. So, yeah. Just know the gameplay you're watching right now was recorded with me feeling like absolute trash all throughout. The Abnormal Place is an unenjoyable game. The story is pretty much non-existent. The tasks are boring and uninventive. There are lots of small little issues like the walking animation and the music loops that need to be ironed out. and the game literally got me physically ill while playing. But I'm making this video because I think this game can really be something cool. Up until this point of the video, I've only been shitting on this game for all of its shortcomings. But like I said at the start of the video, that isn't what this video is meant to convey. This game, being as underwhelming as it is a product of A, a small developer team, and B, lots of unfinished ideas. Which is exactly why I see so much potential in this game. There's one thing this game does do exceptionally well, which is its visual presentation. The game looks absolutely stunning. The textures of the different objects and environments look clean as hell, and the color palette in every single area is near perfect. The darker, more ominous colors in the caves and the brighter, calmer colors above ground look really fucking good. And then there's the excellent use of light that elevates the visuals to a whole new level. Whoever was in charge of the usage of light did the best job they could, because it nears perfection in every single area. Whether that's the sunlight shining down on you or glowing mushrooms lighting up darker areas, it makes the world look so much more beautiful and alive. And then I haven't even mentioned the dank-ass character models. Abigail and the monster she meets along the way all have this clayish art style that looks like they've been handmade. And yeah, they look fucking fantastic. The monsters look creepy and weird as hell, and even Abigail looks like she's just stood up from her grave. There isn't a single character model that doesn't look amazing, and stumbling upon a new monster was an absolute treat because of it. It sure as hell made creating a thumbnail easy as hell too. Aside from the amazing visual presentation, I also think the level design is pretty alright. Although being nothing special, the areas are jam-packed with cool looking structures and stuff like giant plates and toasters to enter or parkour on. Hell, even though I hate this maze, that's more so because I'm an impatient little shit rather than bad level design. They did a great job with adding these spike and machete traps and making the different pathways have different obstacles to overcome. Although you can cheese everything because of the lack of border protection, walking or jumping through these different areas was rather fun. There are plenty of different pathways to explore, and they've even added these arrow signs that perfectly blend in with the environment to point you to the main objective or monster in order to prevent you from getting lost. If the objectives weren't boring as hell, the level design would really add to the overall experience. The Abnormal Place isn't a good game in its current state, but the visuals and level design not only function as a solid foundation, but show these developers have the talent to make something great. If you can make the characters and environments look like this, have this understanding of level design and object placement, and are able to implement stuff where the player can interact with the environment to, for example, drain these water supplements, then, in my humble opinion, they have the tools to be able to add a bunch of stuff to improve this game's experience. Which is exactly why I want to suggest improvements that aren't unreachable based on what I've seen in this game. So, first things first. The minor issues I mentioned should be resolved, which should be rather easy. Add some basic border protection so the player can jump on vertical walls, give Abigail a different animation when running opposed to walking, make the walking animation more natural rather than ice skating over a set of stairs. If you want to get real frisky, you can even add footprint trails in the sand and such. Other than that, just add a continuous music loop rather than minutes of silence before it reboots. Just restarting it as soon as it ends would already be enough for me. It doesn't even need to be a smooth transition or anything like that. I I was gonna use this clip as an example, but they actually made the music loop in this clip. Just do this for every single area, with every single track, and voila! The issue's fixed. Lastly, there's the motion sickness, which I honest to God don't have a solution for. The least they can do is fix the FOV slider, as it seems to do nothing currently. But other than that, I don't know how to fix it. For all I know, it's my problem rather than the game's problem, although I have never experienced this before in any other game. But if they can somehow come up with anything, that would be greatly appreciated. But those are the minor, easy to fix issues. What they should focus on fixing first are the story progression and, more importantly, the quests. Based on what they've done with the character models and the areas, I'd say suggesting the implementation of a bigger variety of quests rather than just fetch quests isn't that much of a stretch. So what if we don't change the core concept of the game, but make it more fun? You will still talk to the monsters and have them give you the items you need to advance upon completing their quests, but what if all of them test your worth in unique ways? Maybe this guy wants you to best him in a race down the mountain. Maybe this guy is dying to have a worthy opponent in a game of checkers. I still have no fucking clue how to play this game. And this guy will only let you pass if you can beat him in a one-on-one fight. The ideas don't even have to be original either. I mean, the ideas I just listed were stolen from Mario 64 and the scuffed Avatar game I played a while ago. Transitioning the game from this open world to a temporary racing area, card game hall or brawl arena, it should be doable enough. Then add some unique controls and menu options, like i.e. the option to select different moves to combat the monster with, or taunt them during the checkers match so they'd get more nervous for their next move.
Your mom's a hoe.
And voila! You got an incredibly fun game. A variety of things to do in each and every area, having every monster make Abigail do something new and unique to advance, would make this game infinitely more enjoyable and memorable. Whether that fits the vibe they were going for is completely up to them, but having weird creatures make you do weird shit makes a whole lot of sense if you ask me. Just play into the short attention span. Give the player that dopamine boost by throwing something new at them, and suddenly you got a completely different game than the repetitive adventure it currently is. The storyline doesn't even have to change all that much as a result of this, since the whole make your way to the hotel and collect fragments of your voice concept still blends in with these new ideas. You just have to overcome more varied challenges in order to get to the hotel. Sure, I'd love some more interesting dialogue or even pre-rendered cutscenes to add to the overall experience, and elevate the story's importance in the overall adventure. But this is completely secondary to improving the gameplay aspect of things, since just improving that already makes the game worth your time. The abnormal place in its current state isn't worth your precious time, and most certainly isn't worth the price it sells for. At a price of 16 euros and 79 cents, this is nothing but an enormous scam. For this price, you can purchase excellent games like Persephone, Genesis Noir, Journey, etc., and still have money left over. To value such an empty game at a higher price than the games I just listed and more is just wrong. Just for the visuals and level design alone, I'd give this game $5, but anything more in its current state cannot be justified. I know this is a strange video that doesn't seem to have a general direction. First, I bash the game for what it does wrong, and then I'm telling the developers, who know infinitely more about game design than me, what to do. Who do I think I am, right? Some entitled little shit with a YouTube channel telling people with actual talent what they should be doing instead. This video is pretty much an extended Steam review. I originally wasn't even going to make a video on this game, because there just wasn't all that much to it and I felt it was uninteresting to talk about. But as soon as I started writing my Steam review, I realized I had a lot more to say regarding its shortcomings and possible improvements than I thought, and illustrating my issues and suggestions with visuals and spoken words just felt like a better way to communicate my thoughts. So I hope the developers somehow see this video and take something from it. And even if they want to smack my ass for everything I've said in this video and dislike but it, or comment about my fucking accent, because I'm so very Dutch, then that's perfectly fine with me as well. I just think this game could be something beautiful, which is exactly why this video is called The Beauty of an Unenjoyable Game. The Abnormal Place is unenjoyable to play through, but there's so much beauty hidden underneath its surface that's just waiting to be unlocked. In my opinion, this game has a lot of potential, and that's what makes it so vastly different from the usual bad game experience. Whether they do anything with my criticisms and suggestions or tell me to go fuck myself, one thing is for sure. The Abnormal Place doesn't have to be a bad game. I fucking hate chess.